Rouzbeh worked in various industries, in different cultures, and has like so many global perspectives. He's industry adventurer, as he calls himself. He's also instructor of project management, business analysis, agile, OKRs, and also a speaker and an advisor. And I'm really honored that he is also our fellow on PMBOK 8, on PMBOK 8 working team. And we work with Rouzbeh for almost 2 years. And he also contributed to different PMI standards, for instance, business analysis standard and also portfolio management standard. Also, Rouzbeh is having so many different certificates of PMI and different institutions that I'm not going to tell every because there are so many, but he is certified PMP, PFMP, RMP, and so many more. And from my personal perspective, he is one of the most passionate people that I have ever met, and he is such a hardworking person and such a professional in the project management field. So it's really nice to have you here on PMOdyssey, Rouzbeh, and I'm really happy to see you.
Hi, Gabriel. Hi, Alejandra. Hello to everyone. Thank you for all the compliments. And it's a pleasure to be with you, my dear friends, because we had a long story together during the last 2 years, and I really like the story. And I'm very happy to be with you all and to be one of the guys who are contributing to this podcast.
Okay, thank you so much, Rouzbeh. I believe you could you tell us more about what's your current passions?
Uh, as you mentioned, one of my favorite things is going through different industries. I like the challenge of being in different industries, in different projects, because I think if you want to be a professional or adventurer in project management, you need to be in different projects and in different industry. And every of those projects are different stories. You cannot imagine when you are going to an e-commerce company with different projects and then going to pharmaceutical company. And now I'm working with a FMCG company with different projects, with a startup company, also different projects. Being in different projects like that give me some joy. So I would like to be in these challenges, and these challenges is part of my hobbies and entertainment. I know it is very hard, and sometimes when I'm in the middle, I would say, so this will be the last time I'm entering a new area. And I don't, so, but when it finished, I'm looking for the new zone. So I don't like to be in comfort zone. And being with you in this PMBOK 8 was one of my dreams because I wanted to make some impact. I think all of us wanted to make impact in the project management community. So this is one of ultimate goal that a person in project management may have. And I think we did that. So my passion is impacting and making impact in the project management community, in business analysis community, and also other related communities. And I want to make stories. I like making stories for myself and also for others.
Great. Thank you so much, Rouzbeh. I really like the approach in being in different industries because that is something that I love about my experience in project management is built around going into different industries. And I think that opens your mind into looking things that most people that say in one specific industry don't usually look at. So we're going to start to talk off and we want to talk about the growth mindset. I know that you have been in one of the biggest contributors into building that project management mindset. So I really want to start with that. I would love to ask you if looking back to your career, when you first realized that project management is more than what we think, than what we do.
Thank you for asking, Alejandra. That was one of my main concerns joining the PMBOK development team. Over the past few years, being in different industries and different projects, I've seen several projects fail, even in very well-known and famous companies. These organizations had everything you would expect. You wouldn't see any lack of tools and techniques or software or technologies. So when you look at the names, when you look at the people who are working in those companies, you may ask yourself, what don't they have? What is the lack? What is the gap? So when I was connecting with those companies, when I see that they have every technologies, every methodologies, using every process, they have PMP certified people, I found out that it is about the mindset. It is about the thinking. So if you don't change your mindset, if you don't change the way of thinking, nothing will change. So if you have the knowledge of risk management, if you have high-tech software, and if you have certified people in PMP and RMP, but you don't have the mindset of, for example, being proactive. So the proactive mindset, which we will go through it as the first dimension, if you don't have it, nothing will happen. And in contrast, if you have the mindset, even with simplest tools, simplest software, you can make a huge difference. So when I went through different example of failed project like Deepwater Horizon, like Sampunmal, or even when I talked about the Challenger disaster. I had a talk about Challenger disaster. I discussed about it with Mike. But when you're talking about Challenger disaster and the concept of go fever, the temptation of launch, when you see that, you will see that it is about the mindset. So uh, I think we we have to highlight that part. We have to focus on that part before going through several processes, several tools and techniques. First of all, you need to adopt the mindset that we defined through this version of the PMBOK. And I know many people may mention that these are some words, but I think we wanted to highlight the concept of thinking without acting,
Yeah,
before
totally
acting.
agree. Yeah, totally agree, Rouzbeh, because I think like putting everything through the lens of mindset and adjusting to a proactiveness, ownership, and value-driven dimensions, it created, like really systems and not, like just random principles within the book. And coming from your personal experience, do you believe that the mindset is the thing that you are born with, or is the thing that you can teach and or grow as a muscle? Have you experienced that? And maybe you can share like some examples.
I would say you have to practice it. It is not something that you born with it. You need to practice it. I think it is way of living, way of working to think before acting. So some people may have that one in their behavior. I don't say because they have born with that concept. I would say because they saw that concept, that behavior with their parents. So when I teach concept of EQ, I mentioned that it is not genetic. You have to earn it, and it is not. If you see somebody had that had those behaviors inside, it is not just because the genetic concept, because the person saw that in the behavior of people who were along that person or near that person. So when your mother or father uh, have the mindset of being proactive or value driven, then you see that in their behavior and then you will practice that. So I think people need to incorporate those concepts in their behavior by practicing and practicing. And even though some person like me may sometimes forget to use those concept of mindset, but by practicing a lot, you will incorporate it in your behavior.
Thank you, Rouzbeh. I really like the way you explain it because that gives us the responsibility as project managers to create those spaces and those communities and those societies in which we model out these principles, in which we model out the way we should, live. And the other thing is, I connect a lot with your day-to-day life because sometimes we believe that project management is about technical. But one thing that I love about project management is that I see it as a life skill. It is something that you can do. It works for anything in your life. So thank you so much for bringing that up and for reminding us the importance of our surroundings and the culture we are creating around us to start and experience this, to experience it in your job. I would love to know a little bit more about your experience in your consulting, in your community. Where do you see the project management mindset fails the most or most often today? What are those things that we should be looking out as blockers or risks or negative risks that could block or interfere with the presence of this project management mindset to be executed in the correct way?
Thank you for that, Alejandra. Before that, I want just to add something regarding uh, the connection with our life. Every time when I teach to my student, I mention that I live project management and project management practices. And I think there are several instances that project management practices are lessons of life. So, as you mentioned, and I believe to that this is about our life. So, when you're talking about something in project management regarding the leadership, regarding the servant leadership, uh, um, I used to mention in my classes that servant leadership is the art of being parents. So, uh, so there are several instances that you can see those practices and use those practices in your real life. And regarding the mindset and the barrier, I would say it, as I mentioned, it is something from top to down. So, as kids and children look at their father and mother, their parents, to incorporate and learn that mindset in the organization. Uh, project team look at the project manager, look at the top manager to see what are their behaviors. So you cannot imagine uh, if a person behave in the top in the top of the organization as a project manager, but the person is not an optimistic person, that person has a reactive mindset, not proactive mindset, or the person is not value driven, but you cannot expect the project team have the proactive mindset. So project team follows the manager. So the first of all, I think the first blocker in the projects, in several projects uh, I have seen, the first of all is the wrong behavior and the wrong mindset from the top manager. So when they act, when they behave wrong, then you will see the reflection in the project team. And it comes from the culture of the organization. So I have to go above those managers, and it comes from the culture of the organization. So when you look at those organizations, you see that it comes from the top leaders and managers in that organization who shape the culture of those organizations. So if you want to change those things, you need to start from top managers, because you cannot change the behavior of children if the parents behave differently.
Okay. I totally agree, 100%. And I remember now our discussions when we were developing the PMBOK 8, that we were talking about, like the reader, the user of the guide. And we even discussed that even, like the pupils, the students could use it because they still have projects in the school, and it should be quite universal that not only like mega projects would be, guided by the PMBOK guide, but also different kind of projects, maybe even with like 5 people of project management team. Also, what I really liked within our current version is of PMBOK, that we included family as a stakeholder. That was never before included as stakeholder, because as project managers, probably you, Rouzbeh, and Alejandro, we spend so much time working or thinking about work and the results and the deliverables that we are having for our projects, that we are being impacted or we may impact our families. But also, coming back to mindset, when we talk about ownership dimension, do you believe that the project managers or PMOs or portfolio managers focus should stay only within his department or division? Or if you see if there are like some, let's say, discrepancies, inefficiencies within different departments within the company, should the person also interact, and should the person also spread this leading by example, suggestions? What is your idea on that?
Regarding the ownership, I have two points I want to mention and focus on 2 points. First of all, I think project managers, and not just project managers, when we are talking be an accountable leader, we agreed that it is not just about the project manager, it is about all the team. So if you are in the team, you have to lead your work and your people around you. So you should be an accountable leader. And regarding the ownership, you have to own the consequence of your decisions. You have to own your team and their behaviors. You have to own the work. So it is not just about the process. It's about ownership regarding everything, about your decisions, about the processes, about your team. You have to be responsible about your teammates. So it is not just about a project manager that have ownership about the project. No, I think it is about the project, about the result. When we have talked about the value, and we saw many complaint and criticism on the LinkedIn that value is not the responsibility of the project manager. It is about the portfolio manager. I know, and I agree that the value comes from the portfolio manager. The portfolio manager is accountable for the value, but I think we think that project team and project manager is responsible, and the project manager needs to own the consequence and the value of the project. So I would say it is about everything, and above the ownership, I was thinking that we have another word, which is shared ownership. I have to own my work, my result, but I have to know that the result of the project is come from the collective responsibility. It is about the collective ownership. So I can't just say that I did mine. I did my job, I did my responsibility. So when we are talking about the shared ownership, we want to share the consequence, share the pride of success to all people. And I think we demonstrated it in the best way when we were talking that uh, regarding the being accountable and empowered culture. I had a lecture, and I mentioned in that lecture, you can give the responsibility to people, you can give the authority to the people, but you cannot give the ownership to the people. They have to take the ownership. And a team which is empowered, which has an empowered culture, would take that ownership. So when you want to give the ownership to a team, you need to create a empowered culture in that team.
Thank you so much, Rouzbeh. I wanted to shift a bit into being proactive because I have experienced in some projects that I have lived that people said you're too proactive. So I want to, you have to back off a little bit. So I would like to hear your perspective on proactivity. How much is really too much? And as a part of an organization, we usually have a lot of operational work that we have to do, a lot of KPIs we need to meet. We have our families too. We have a whole system of life around us. So I would like you to share a little bit about your experiences on how being proactive in balanced way that we can keep as project managers doing our job in an excellent way and meeting expectations and everything, but also keeping the balance between our work. Because when we quit our jobs, when we finish a project, we leave and we have another life that is parallel to that. So please explain a little bit more about what is the mind or the heart behind this proactiveness and and how you have lived it personally. If you want to know Rouzbeh's perspective about being proactive, please follow us and wait for our second episode.